Hello, everyone. I think it's time to start. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Today we're going to study vector data. Let me share my screen. Can you see my slides?
Yes. By the way, have you sent some previous materials to us?
For this class, no.
Okay, so we are still waiting to receive them.
What kind of material do you mean?
You said something about some materials of to get used to
Do you mean
QGIS?
tutorials, video?
Yes.
All the materials were uploaded in
To
screen.
LMS.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me show this. In my LMS, they look like this. Just a second. Here you can find all the announcements. Then you can jump to materials section.
Okay, now
The
I can
first
see.
section is introduction.
Thank you.
Then this section is for tutorials, documentation, and with video. Also, I think I sent this as an announcement, QGIS tutorials. So you can find here. I think everything I promised a week ago, I have uploaded.
Okay, in that case, I was just looking in the wrong place.
Okay,
Thank you.
no worries. Vector data in GIS. The outline of this lecture is as follows. We study types of vector data in GIS. Then we learn something about topology in GIS and have a look at vector attribute data and map production. Also, you'll get some sources for free geodata. Okay, types of vector data. You know that three main types of vector data in GIS are considered. Point data. Point is a single point location. For example, longitude and latitude of your location right now. Just a location of something with at least two coordinates. The second type of vector data is line or polyline, which is a set of ordered points connected by straight line segments. When we have at least two lines, we call this a polyline. Polygon, which is an area marked by one or more enclosing lines, possibly containing holes. A vector feature has its shape represented using geometry. In GIS, geometry is used to represent the spatial component of geographic features with discrete boundaries such as rivers, states, streets, and parcels. So when we say geometry in geographic information systems, we do not mean a course of geometry as in high school. We apply this term for the spatial component of geographic features. The geometry is made up of one or more interconnected vertices. A vertex describes a position in space using x, y, and optionally z-axis. X and Y are usually latitude and longitude coordinates. Z axis usually corresponds to the depth or height of each vertex, but not both. So geometries which have vertices with a z-axis are often referred as 2.5D, not 3D. Because they describe either height or depth at each vertex, but not both. То есть не 3D координаты, а 2,5D координаты. Vector point feature. Locations are here. This location has x, y, and z coordinates. Except coordinates, the point has its attributes. They describe the feature. For example, the points have IDs, 1 for the first point, and 2 for the second point. Also, they have attributes, name. For example, the first point corresponds to a tree, and the second point corresponds to a light post. Also, they have an attribute, description. The first point has a description outside our classroom, and the second point has its attribute at the school entrance. A point feature has an x, y, and optionally z value, as I told before. The x and y values will depend on the coordinate reference system being used. One of the most common reference systems is longitude and latitude. Lines of longitude, run from the North Pole to the South Pole, and lines of latitude run from the east to west. Vector polyline feature. Polyline is a series of connected vertices that do not form an enclosed shape. You can see an example with two polylines, blue one and violet one. The blue line has an identifier 1. Its name is footpath 1, and its description is from class to the playground. The second polyline, which is violet, has an identifier 2, its name is footpath 2, and its description from the school gate to the hall, which is important. They do not intersect because there is no vertex here. A polyline has two or more vertices. The polyline is a continuous path drawn through each vertex. When two vertices are joined, a line is created. When more than two are joined, they form a line of lines or just polyline. Vector polygon feature. Polygon geometry is a series of connected vertices that do form an enclosed shape. Here you can see two polygons, a blue one and a violet one. They have attributes 1 and 2. They are identifiers. Their names: school boundary, the blue one, and sports field, the violet one. The blue one is the fence line for the school, and the description of the second one is we play soccer here. Polygon features are enclosed areas like dams, islands, country boundaries, and so on. Like polyline features, polygons are created from a series of vertices that are connected with continuous line. However, because a polygon always describes an enclosed area, the first and last vertices should always be at the same place. Polygons often have shared geometry, boundaries that are in common with a neighboring polygon. As with points and polylines, polygons have attributes. The attributes describe each polygon. For example, a dam, skvazhina, might have attributes for depth and water quality. Topology, which is often used in GIS. Topology expresses the spatial relationship between connecting.
Excuse me.
Okay.
I've got a question about polyline and polygons.
Okay.
In all of our examples, the points are connected with strict lines.
Yeah.
Is it true for every case or just in
Yes.
our samples?
Yes. If the question is that whether instead of a straight line we can use a curve,
Yes.
no, we cannot. They are connected with a straight line. That's a very good question. And even for future examples, even if you see some circle on the map, the circle is not a circle. The circle is a polygon, and we have a closer look at this during the second pair. So everything that is a vector class in GIS don't have any curve. They are either points, either lines, or polygons.
So even if we see a circle, it's just a set of small
Very
polylines.
close points. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Okay.
Topology expresses the spatial relationship between connecting or adjacent vector features, points, polylines, and polygons in a GIS. То есть под топологией понимают пространственные отношения между соседними или соединяющими соединяющимися векторными данными. Topological or topology-based data are useful for detecting and correcting digitizing errors. That is, two lines in a root vector layer that do not meet perfectly at an intersection. Topology is necessary for carrying out some types of spatial analysis, such as, for example, network analysis. Just a quick example from St. Petersburg. This is a map of St. Petersburg metro. You can find circles that show connectivity. I mean, big circles. Большие кружочки соответствуют пересадочным станциям. So if you want to travel from, for example, Rybatskaya to, say, Petrogradskaya station, you should change, for example, at Nevsky Prospect. And there are several intersecting metro lines in St. Petersburg. And I want to pay your attention to this area. We see that the violet and the green lines cross each other on the map, but there is no spatial relationship in terms of change trains. There is no station in here. То есть на рисунке выглядит пересечением, но по факту, поскольку они расположены на разных уровнях, эти линии не пересекаются, там нет пересадочной станции.
So, once again, the topology, it's about some rules of the space.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Polylines. Here we can see an example of a polyline. This is some coordinate system. The 0 point is here. First, polyline number 1 have coordinates 2, 10, this point, then 2, 2, and 10, 2. So this polyline consists of 3 points, 1, 2, 3. And the second polyline consists of points 2, 8, this one, 5, 8, this one, 7, 6, this one, and 7, 0. 4 points for the second line. So we can say that from this data model, this point is not an intersection because the first polyline has no point with these coordinates. То есть это не пересечение. Эта точка относится ко второй линии, но в первой линии такой точки нет. Будет пересечением, если эта точка есть и в первой, и во второй линии. So this is not an intersection. This is just an overlapping case. And an important note, lines are not aware of each other. Линии не знают друг про друга. Они знают только про себя, только про свои координаты. То, что там сверху, вернее, и то, что у другой линии вершина лежит на пути, соединяющем вершины другой линии, это не делает пересечением. Another example is for polygons. There are 4 polygons in this picture. 0, 0 is here. The first polygon, this one, has 6 vertices. The first one, 1, 9, then 6, 9, 6, 8, 4, 6, 1, 6, and 1, 9. We can see that the first point and the last point do coincide. Они совпадают, потому что первая и начальная точка показывают, совпадение первой и начальной точки как раз показывает, что у нас не полилиния, а полигон. То есть обрамляет некую area. The same thing with the second polygon, 6, 9, 9, 9, 9, 1, 4, 1, 4, 6, 6, 8, and 6, 9. For the third polygon, we have 5 vertices, and for the fourth polygon, we have also 5 vertices. And the first point and the last point are the same. A couple of words about topology errors. Topological errors break the relationship between features. These errors need to be fixed in order to be able to analyze vector data with procedures like network analysis, that is finding the best route across the road network, or measurement, that is finding out the length of wave. What kind of topological errors may prevent from solving research questions, for example? If we go back to this example, that excessive data that can be stored is as follows. Imagine that we describe this polygon twice. That is, we line this twice. Лишние данные, которые будут мешать, это такие, например, когда 2 раза ввели полигон, и последовательность точек повторяет проход по границам полигона. Это будет мешать при расчете, например, кратчайшего пути или расчета площадей и так далее. Поэтому при составлении пространственных объектов, векторных данных, нужно проверять, нет ли ошибок в топологии. For example, common topological errors that we can face when make a map, when we create a shapefile, are as follows. Undershoots. Undershoots occur when digitized vector lines that should connect to each other don't quite touch. For example, this one. We see a gap between this line and the main route. То есть не дотянули линию и нет пересечения. Or the second type of common error in topology is overshoot. Overshoots happen if a line ends beyond the line it should connect to. The second type. Почему важно дотягивать и не вытягивать лишние линии? Допустим, нужно проложить маршрут кратчайший до некой точки. Поскольку первая линия не дотянута до основной дороги, она не может быть учтена в расчете маршрута. То есть весь этот участок не учитывается GIS-системой.
So the system understands it like some separate part of the road,
Yes,
which
exactly.
doesn't
Which is
connect.
not connected with the network. Yeah.
Okay.
As for polygons, the most common error is slivers. Slivers occur when the vertices of two polygons do not match up on their borders. So you can see the gap between two polygons. It's important that, for example, voting areas or zip codes or municipal areas should be connected and they shouldn't be intersected. Когда мы распределяем, например, участки голосования, вся площадь, вся территория должна быть разбита на участки, не должно быть пересекающихся участков. Здесь показан пример, когда выделяется территория, которая не относится ни к первой, ни ко второй территории. The result of overshoot and undershoot errors are so-called dangling nodes at the end of lines. Dangling nodes are acceptable in special cases, for example, if they are attached to dead end streets. So examples 1 and 2 are acceptable if there are dead ends. То есть если мы смотрим, что там тупики, и они не участвуют в нашем анализе, то да, в таких случаях можно не исправлять. Но лучше не иметь таких кейсов. Topology rules. Many common errors that can occur when digitizing vector features can be prevented by topology rules that are implemented in many GIS applications. So you don't have to check everything by hand. There must be special tools in GIS systems. But topology is usually not enforced by default. So it's better to check first whether your shapefile has no topological errors. Many common GIS, like QGIS, define topology as relationship rules and let the user choose the rule, if any, to be implemented in a vector layer. The following list shows some examples of where topology rules can be defined for real-world features in a vector map. Area edges of a municipality map, or voting areas, or areas that distribute some public good must not overlap. Area edges of a municipality map must not have gaps, must not have slivers. Polygons showing property boundaries must be closed. Undershoots or overshoots over border lines are not allowed. Contour lines in a vector line layer must not intersect, and that is must not cross each other. What vector data, what kind of data can be used for vector data in GIS systems, except their coordinates? We can also use their attributes. Their attributes are stored in a table, that is an attribute table. An attribute table is like a spreadsheet, just for example, like a table in Excel. Each column in the table is called a field. Each row in the table is a record. Fields represent properties of the feature, like height, roof color, population in this area, or length of this part of the route, and so on. Fields can contain numerical, string, or date information. For example, a year of construction, some description, or some numerical variables. What for? Attribute data are usually exploited for symbology. That is how this feature can be determined and how it is symbolized. You know that we can choose graduated color symbology or continuous symbology or unique value symbology. Graduated color symbology groups the data into discrete cases. For example, we choose 10 classes, and we choose graduated colors to color the map. Continuous color symbology assigns colors from a color range to the features based on their attributes. Unique value symbology associates with each different value in the chosen attribute column with a different symbol, color, and style. If the attribute of a vector layer is not used to determine its symbology, it is drawn using a single symbol only. Symbology is used for map production. Map production means arranging map elements on a sheet of paper. Common map elements are title of the map, the map body itself, the map border, its legend. Also, we need a scale or scale bar, a north arrow, or rows of winds, стрелка севера или роза ветров, and some information about sources, about authorship, that is acknowledgement and authorship. Let's have a look at the common map elements in this example. This is title. This is map body, map itself, and this is map border. This is solid black line. North arrow is placed here. Legend is here. The scale bar is here, and acknowledgement about the data source is here. Let's have a look at this part, the legend. Each element displayed in the map body should be mentioned in legend. There are small black squares corresponding to buildings in this map, so we can see several buildings. Gray contour lines, gray lines are contour lines. Also, we can see lakes, inland waters. Also, there are several rivers. Also, we can see two types of roads: track footpath, this one and this one, and other access roads, and spot heights. Cannot see it here. Maybe this one is behind the legend. I don't know.
It's on a high point near the number 1030. I think so.
Yeah, great, thank you. Yeah, I think
So
this is the highest point in this map. Yep.
okay.
Also, you can add graticules, координатную сетку, to your map. Graticules are a network of lines on a map that delineate the geographic coordinates. But it is not mandatory, especially for large-scale maps. There is a link on how to add coordinate grids to maps in GIS. I will skip this and jump to the further reading. I'm going to open this this paper, how to make maps people want to look at, and the second one, map design principles. Just a second, I'm opening and sharing the two files. This is a paper by Alien Buckley from Esri. Esri is a big developer of ArcGIS system. The article is on maps production, how to make maps people want to look at. Here you can see a classical map of some area. You can find many geographical objects of different types, lakes, settlements, states, mountains, and so on. How to produce such maps from source files? The first thing to think about a good map is visual contrast. Here you can see good and poor examples. A good example for this content is example A, and poor example, bad example of visual contrast is B. I think you understand why, because the first picture it has more contrast than the second one. For the second row of examples, C and D, the good example is D, because because in the first picture, in C picture, colors are very similar. Examples E and F also examples of good maps, because they have contrast they needed. They have different sizes of circles, and for these cases, visual contrast is present. Legibility. This is the second main thing for map production. Legibility is the ability to be seen and understood. For example, A, and good example is B. For example, C, and good example is D. We should underline, we should emphasize main things in our map. So we can see that in A we cannot distinguish those areas with high values of something, but in area B we can distinguish the main areas, because the circles are bigger. For the next two maps, C and D, the difference is that the text corresponding to locations is of different fonts. For the second map, for D, font size is bigger, and it's easier to capture the names of locations. For E and F maps, we can see that the good example is E, and because we can distinguish different types of airports: municipal level, regional level, and international level. But in map F, we cannot distinguish some locations, especially these two, because their symbols are overlapping each other. The third thing is figure ground organization. Figure ground organization is the spontaneous separation of a figure in the foreground from an amorphous background. How to distinguish the part we need to focus on? A and B are examples of poor design because we don't know what we should look at. For C and D, we can for map C, we can say that we can read territory names. For D, we can say that we should look at this colored territory. For E, also we have a highlighted part, and for F, also we have this part which is highlighted with shadows. Hierarchical organization. To separate meaningful characteristics and to portray likeness, differences, and interrelationships. This is how to define hierarchical organization. The first map has many points distributed across the map, across the territory, and it's hard to find names of states or territories. But for the second map, map B, we can see that there are no points. Maybe they are not relevant to this study, but we can see at least names of the territories. For the third map, map C, we can see different colors, and there is a legend saying something about the colors, and also we can see the state names. Not state, I think county names. Balance. Balance involves the organization of a map and other elements of the page. A well-balanced map page results in an impression of equilibrium and harmony. So you should use not all the information you have in GIS system, but you should use several main features to show them on the layout on the map. poor examples of poor maps, A and B. Why we can see we can say that this part is poor.
They do not use all the space appropriately.
Yes, exactly. Uh, we can move the map body itself and to rearrange title, legend, and so on. So these are 5 major ideas to think about good maps. Also, I just want to show some pictures of good and bad examples. Next file I'm going to share is this one. This file is from Donald Boyes from the University of Toronto. Map design principles. Developing a critical eye. So this is a map produced by some student. We can see very bright colors. We can see something overlapping something, some legend, and we don't know what kind of variable we are studying. But when we organize our map like this, it's getting better for understanding. We know that this is Toronto population density by the census tract. Data corresponds to 2016. Here, different colors used with graduating symbology. Also, there is a scale and north arrow, even the name of a lake. So, and the source information is present. So, definitely, this map is better than the first one. The same information, that is, the same shapefile, the same data, but we can construct very different examples of maps. Design process consists of several steps. Which goal we are going to reach? We need simplicity, we need clarity. We use a map to communicate, to transfer some information, and we use design as problem solving. Some controls on map design. We need to think of purpose of a map. We use reality principles, and we should based on available data. We need to think of scale, about audience, who will look at your map. You need to think of conditions of use and some technical limits. You need to determine what will be included, how it will look. For example, this is a reference map with a huge amount of information. And also this map is a very detailed map. We can use a thematic map. For example, this map doesn't consist any names of territories. Probably the purpose of this map is to make people familiar with mean annual temperature zones of this part. A reference map can look like this, with names of main streets and names and territories, areas of neighboring areas of Toronto. When we add locations of some amenities or some or locations of some objects, we get thematic map. And it's possible to use different base maps. For example, a black map to add more contrast. What about reality? Spatial characteristics of area will affect how it is mapped. For example, Chile is long and narrow, and this one, and Hawaiian Islands are small and spread out. So there is no simple and unique way to describe or to produce a beautiful map for any territory. You'll have to create your own way every time. Available data. Sometimes you will have missing data. In order to indicate this in a map, you should include this in a legend. If for some territories you don't have any values. A map should be easily to understand for intended audience. Is your audience familiar with the area or know their level of training? For example, I think you all know the territory of Russia, and when someone focuses on the European part of Russia, you will easily distinguish it. So it will be easy to explain the prepared audience your map. But if you are going to present your map for example, for foreign students who do not know the Russian territories, Russian regions, you will have to, for example, focus on neighboring territories and underline the state borders and say something about a part of the state and so on. Design principles. As I told you before from the previous article, visual hierarchy, figure ground, contrast, legibility, and balance. Here you can find some examples of visual hierarchy, balance, and so on. Good and bad examples. I will stop this presentation. There are many enough examples. I suggest that you look at the examples by yourself. The files have been uploaded to LMS. Let me share the LMS. Materials section, vector data. For further reading, you have various map design principles here. And also I'm adding another file. Just a second. I don't have it here. Okay, while I'm uploading the file, I ask you to download these data sets for our next class. Пожалуйста, скачайте дата-файлы для нашего занятия по QGIS. Administrative borders, railroads, roads, and settlements of Russia. Я пока загружу файлы еще. Also, I suggest that you read this article by Rolf, Cartographic Design as Visual Storytelling Synthesis and Review of Map-Based Narratives, Genres, and Rules. The paper has been published in the Cartographic Journal, so if you are going to improve your knowledge on cartography, you're very welcome to have a look at this. Also, today we are going to get familiar with a projection for whole Russia, whole Russian territory. I think you remember that a week ago when you work with world map, the territory of Russia was divided into two because the farthest part was located somewhere in the left. In order to fix this, we can use, for example, this spatial projection. And this is how to define a new projection in QGIS. We can use settings and define a new projection. This is a case of adding a brand new coordinate reference system. То есть мы можем добавлять свои проекции с своими установками, пользоваться не только встроенными, но еще и свои проекции. Also, there are some sources for free geographic data sets. You can find administrative borders from Global Administrative Division map sources, GADM.org, or from DIVA GIS system dataset section. Administrative borders are polygons. If you need data on world settlements, you can use, for example, this source, GeoNames.
And you will upload those slides in the LMS too,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Okay.
Also, for settlements of Russia, you can use these sources, and the universal source for almost everything is OpenStreetMap. I think that's all for this lecture. Do you have any question? Now I'm uploading the slides to LMS.
We have one more like organizational question.
Okay.
As I can remember, you talked about some kind of shared works for grades.
Mm-hmm.
So, will they take place on lectures or on seminars, and in what format?
Short tests will be during either lectures or seminars. I cannot tell you the exact time interval for that during our courses. And also you will have homework a couple of homeworks, and a test based on a paper will be in October. Today or tomorrow, I will upload 3 papers for the test. You can read them, and I think in 3 weeks approximately, there will be a test based on one of the paper. То есть вы получаете 3 статьи, читаете их, и по одной из них будет тест.
Okay.
Мгм.
And after 30 minutes, we'll have a seminar,
Yes, exactly.
a practical seminar.
We're going to use QGIS and use vector data. Okay, now let's have a break.
So we'll continue at 12:55 or at 1
I
p.m.
think it's better to follow our schedule.
Okay, so 1 p.m.
Yeah, 1 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.